Alternate Caird.
Here.
Commissioner Czaplinski.
Here.
Commissioner Walowski.
Here.
Chair Hammersley.
Hammersley's here. Commissioner Tedesco did contact me. He won't be here today, so we'll see Commissioner Keard in his place for the evening. And with that, we have a quorum. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Could all stand for a moment of silent reflection. I got to get you before you sit down, right? Thank you. Okay, looking for a motion to approve our minutes from our last meeting on March 5th, 2024.
Motion approved to approve.
Commissioner Walowski with a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Britton with a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner discussion, anyone have anything? Nothing? Okay. Item number 8, Chairman's comments. All I'm going to say is I was contacted by some constituents over the course of the last couple of weeks. This applies to everybody up here as well as members of the audience. When you're speaking, because people are watching this at home, believe it or not, could you make sure you talk into the microphone so that they can hear what you're saying? And not only that, but it goes towards a public record. If you could just make sure you speak it to the microphone so it can be captured on the video as well. So with that, we'll go to the public hearing. Item 9A, Evergreen of Southington LLC, re-subdivision application for proposed 12-lot subdivision, property located at 567 Woodruff Street, zoned in R 2025. This is S1340.1. Hi. For those who haven't been here before, you always start with your name and address, so we can get that on the record, too. Do you have all that? It's going to come up here as well?
Yes.
Yeah, don't worry about those.
Good evening, Commission. Chaz Evans, licensed professional engineer with Bowler Engineering, address 65 LaSalle Road in West Hartford. Here on behalf of the applicant to discuss 567 Woodruff Street, proposed 12-lot re-subdivision for a residential development. So before you, and with work with the town staff and town engineering, we're presenting a 12-lot residential subdivision on which is currently a vacant, what used to be a nursery, 24-foot road, currently named Walter Drive, 1,500 square foot homes, so grading, stormwater, as well as open space proposed to meet town requirements in the rear of the site in an effort to enhance the evergreen buffer that exists and clean up some of the currently disturbed property. The site is about 7.78 acres, resides in the R2025 residential zone. Each of these 12 lots is a minimum 22,500 square feet and a minimum lot width of 100 feet. As I mentioned, Walter Drive is going to be a 24-foot wide road with sidewalk on one side and a 50-foot right-of-way. And currently proposed is 0.52 acres. Let me grab pointer here. As I mentioned, to the rear of the property is 0.52 acres of open space, which is deed restricted between lots 6 and 7. Lot 7 has 0.24 acres of open space, and lot 6 has 0.28 acres. Again, the open space in the back is to just be preserved as is and enhanced with 20 evergreen trees along that back to be conserved and preserved for water quality of the adjacent stream off the lot. From a stormwater design standpoint, currently Site kind of sheet flows as it does, has a couple of dry wells, but there is no water quality treatment as it is. There's about over 100,000 square feet of impervious coverage. The current proposed plan accounts for about 55,000 square feet of impervious coverage. So we're losing over an acre of impervious area on the site. Obviously, impervious area that exists today is between buildings and kind of poor condition pavement. We'd be putting new impervious pavement down with, again, as I mentioned, each lot has a small water quality underground stormwater feature, which is really a stone trench with perforated pipe in the middle to take the roof runoff. And again, treat water quality because peak rate has been handled through the reduction in impervious coverage. The road itself will drain to, there is a drainage and utility easement that runs between lots 6 and 7 to a level spreader in the back, and this, again, will drain back to the stream. As it exists now, the front portion of the nursery drains to Woodruff Street, and a majority of the rear portion of the nursery drains to the rear of the site. The existing and proposed conditions, as reviewed by town engineering staff, would match, and in fact, we'd reduce peak rates from what exists today. There is a decent amount of grade change because the site overall is flat. So to get adequate sewers out to Woodruff Street, there's a bit of a cut in the front of the site and a fill in the back of the site, albeit the site is maintained to balance in the best condition. And as I mentioned before, we're proposing 20 evergreen trees within the open space to enhance that buffer, as well as the street trees. We have 6 trees along the street frontage and 16 along the road itself. As mentioned today, existing nursery with minimal to no stormwater treatment. And as mentioned, this back area is kind of right now brush, disturbed, and the goal is to restore that with the overall development. Just going through subdivision, one of the conditions worked with town engineering staff is in R2025, we have to have a minimum of an 80-foot by 80-foot square on every lot, and that's pretty well achievable on each of these 12 lots shown. One of the items we are asking for the commission's relief on is a waiver in regards to the shape of the cul-de-sac as well as the length of the cul-de-sac, looking for waiver request of a cul-de-sac less than 1,000 feet. Currently, the regulations only permit a 600-foot cul-de-sac, which this would be the conventional subdivision. A 600-foot cul-de-sac would only permit us 8 lots. So we're looking to increase that to 12 lots by extending the cul-de-sac length to just under 1,000 feet. This is just walking through our grading plan here. As mentioned, a majority of the site flows to the back, and a small portion of the front of the site drains to the front. There'd be a few of the catch basins draining there, and most of the town stormwater system within the road drain at the back. Each of the lots that have the stormwater system either drain off to the back of the properties or drain into the town system, depending on elevation. Again, as mentioned with the landscape plan, evergreens in the back. Street lights is coordinated with town engineering staff, but still waiting on just comment from Public Works if additional street lights would be required or exact location, and adding some trees just for a little bit of screening along Woodruff Street as you drive by the development. With that, we did receive comments from town planning staff and town engineering staff, of which we provided a response on March 14th. If the commission like, I could walk through each of the 29 comments by town staff or 27 through town engineering. Or if not, again, in coordination with town staff, we feel like we've addressed the comments and received additional dialogue back and forth. That everything that was received is a will comply and will satisfy the comments recommended by town staff.
I appreciate the offer, Chaz, but I don't think you need to go through it. We're going to put those on the record, those comments anyways, in your responses as well. So
Absolutely.
we'll take care of it quick and easy, I hope, after you're done here.
Thank you.
All right?
Sure. Again, with that, kind of the presentation there, again, simple 12-lot residential subdivision, we're before the commission for a site plan application because of the re-subdivision component of our application and looking for the waiver request.
Okay.
So with that, open up to any questions.
Okay.
Commissioner?
Any questions for members of the commission or the applicant? Caleb?
And this actually might be for staff, and as I'm looking at the regulations here for the waiver, could you kind of just some background as to why 800 feet was where we landed and why that's in the regulation? Just so we can kind of compare that to the request to extend it so far? Like, I hate to put you guys on the spot like that if you want to get back to me.
I don't have the background on that. I don't know why that's in there. It's been in the reg a long time, as far as I know. Certainly longer than I've been involved here.
Me too. Okay,
All right.
all right. Thank you. I'm sure I'll have something later.
Yeah. Anyone else? Kat?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the first time we've seen this version of the plan. Those dark green areas towards the bottom of your configuration, does that represent undisturbed tree growth? What is that?
Yes, that's existing tree growth that's there, that is undisturbed, not within our limit of work, limit of grading. In fact, working with town staff, as we were going through our grading plan, there were a couple areas that they mentioned, hey, give yourself a little bit extra room so you're not hamstringing the contractor. So there were some areas of trees that were, buffered here that have since been removed, just knowing that, allowing for grading, allowing for maintenance and access. But yeah, along most of the adjacent residentials and the adjacent church, there is a strip of existing plants, there are trees that are being maintained.
I appreciate that because of the comments from those neighbors.
Yep.
But based on how these are built and the lot lines, could that buffer be reduced by whoever purchases that property?
As of right now, yes.
Okay.
There's no, the only part that is deed restricted is the open space that's back here that has the evergreens, that has the existing vegetation. That needs to be preserved from a conservation type easement. There's nothing on the current proposed plans that would require that to be preserved in perpetuity.
Thank you.
You all set?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Steve?
Yes, is the open space accessible from any point other than going through someone's yard?
It's on private property, so it's not accessible to the general public, kind of walking in. There is a easement that is dedicated to the town of Southington from a stormwater and drainage. So if the town needed, if that wasn't being maintained, if the town needed to go back, or if there was issues, the town could access the open space, but not for, an everyday person kind of walking through someone's private.
So essentially, it'll be maintained by the homeowners?
Correct.
Or allowed to go,
And,
okay.
and the goal of it, there is a delineation. We're looking to put a post and rail fence on that line for the open space, so it doesn't happen to become lawn over the course of the years, as people want to explain. There is going to be there'll probably be monuments and a delineation of where that open space is. And the goal being with the evergreen, and the understory to it, that it kind of takes itself and becomes a natural buffer.
Okay, all right.
as
Well, that
opposed-
was my concern,
yeah.
that it won't become lawn.
No, we want it to be as low maintenance as possible, and again, try to put the, amount of trees there that'll take up, and you won't have big gaps
All right.
of trees.
And then the pine buffer between the church property and the sub, is that going to remain, or are those going to be taken down?
It's proposed to be remained, it's not within our grading limits, but as I mentioned, there's nothing currently on the plan that says it's, deed restricted to be maintained, there's no additional buffer plantings to be there, so.
All right, thank you.
Can I follow up that question?
Caleb for a second time.
Thanks. Told you I'd be back. To follow up on Steve's comment about the evergreens in the open space, I believe that staff had looked or requested or suggested using large boulders in that back area to try to mitigate yard drift, I think was the term that we used. What was the decision between not using that and using the evergreens, or not adding those boulders in there in addition to the evergreens, besides cost?
I mean, we proposed post and rail just because it's readily available, simple, and something that's going to be clear cut. Trying to place boulders in the field, we can put them on the plan, having to go back after the fact, after construction, and know exactly that one boulder's not 5 feet forward, one doesn't roll down the hill a little bit. Again, the post and rail was something a little bit more firm, we felt. But again, we can work with town staff for any recommendations to further that.
And as far as it being maintained, there's not an intent for the town or for the property owners to go back there and cut it, right?
No.
It's
No,
supposed to go
it's
wild.
supposed to be left in natural condition. Really, the main maintenance is if something were to roll down the hill and you were to get trash or debris or something like that, that would make its way over the fence, and kind of be in that area.
And that's not a stockade fence, so stuff could blow through there anyway.
It could.
Right, okay. Second time.
You all set?
Charm, thanks.
All right. So, Chaz, first of all, I understand that you were on paternity leave.
It was.
Yeah, you all set now? You back at work, or you?
I am, I've
you
been
just
back.
come
This
here
is
just for
my
us
second
tonight?
week back. It's a 3-week-old, so, last night was a good night of sleep. You catch me on a Monday, it's a different day.
Yeah, it gets better, trust
Oh,
me.
yeah.
I've been through it 4 times, so, but anyways, congratulations.
Thank
This
you.
last time we saw you. Glad that your family's doing well, I hope, and everyone's good. But I'm just gonna, as I said earlier, I'm gonna turn to staff and just ask if, both Jeremy and Jim Grappone, if their questions have been answered to their satisfaction. There were pretty extensive questions that were out there, and I know, Jim, you followed up with another set of shorter list of questions, but I want to just get it on the record whether those answers are to your satisfaction or not.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant did address my comments. We do need revised set of plans because we got the subdivision plan kind of late. It was displayed on the overhead projection this evening, and it looks like to be appropriate. The drainage report was addressed. I'm happy to see it now includes a reduction in pavement, which is good for our MS4 reporting, so we're happy to see that. Thank you.
Jeremy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Planning Department comments have been satisfied. When we get to the business meeting, I do have a couple of items for you to consider as potential stipulations when we get to that point. They're in the memo that's in front of you. But other than that, we're satisfied.
Okay. Chaz, I'm going to hone in on 2 different things. One is there were several comments. I think that I see one that was brought up by the planning department. I believe that engineering brought one up on site lines and that type of stuff. Can you just talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. So the sight lines themselves are required to be 425 feet in either direction, as well as a sightline easement needs to be, per town requirements, needs to be 25 feet by 25 feet at this property line corner. So again, in working with town engineering staff on the subdivision map, and I can actually go back to that plan here. This small, sliver of the property here and here has a sightline easement per town code, and then there's going to be a intersectional site distance that goes with the subdivision map to make sure that additional planting, no one comes up and puts a bunch of arborvitae or some type of small, high screening right where everyone wants to see. So that will have an impact on those 2 properties, but sight lines in both directions to the stop sign and up the street are both adequate to meet site distance.
Okay. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is your LEP report. Pretty extensive. Is Martin here by any chance?
He is not, no.
He's not, okay. Thoughts on that?
A lot of what we have with Martin is there's going to be a process to remediate it, and obviously from turning over the road to the town and turning over individual houses to the residents. Really, we were looking for, the summary that this becomes essentially the checklist for the contractor for town during building permit. No CO can be issued until we've gone through every one of these items extensively, with Martin on board and saying, yes, that UST was addressed. Yes, the soils meet this testing criteria. So it really was working with him, given the phase 1 and phase 2 that was on the site, to say, hey, give us a roadmap just in case anyone else is on it, And this, again, being with the record, anyone that buys a property can see the record that, hey, what was approved in my thing, on my development, and knows that, hey, this was there, this was a part of it. this needed to be remediated. So as they're going to clothing, they can ask those questions, or they'll be presented with, hey, this was the two things that were in this part of the lot. This is how they were remediated to fix that up, so.
Okay, so you all are committed to making sure that each item in here is remediated to the satisfaction of your LEP?
Yeah, between the owner and the LEP, that'll be a,
Well, the LEP is the one who matters here.
Yes.
The owner might not want to do what the LEP is saying to do, but I want to make sure that if you guys have a problem with something that's in here, that it's brought out right now, because there could possibly, down the line, in a not-so-distant future here, be a stipulation that every item in here is addressed to the satisfaction of the LEP as part of an approval.
and I think
So I want to make sure that that's understood.
our team and the owner are good with that being a stipulation, that all items
I mean,
within
it's
the.
kind of not surprising, given the history of the property, that this has some challenges associated with it, but nevertheless, these are important things that need to be addressed
Absolutely.
in order to ensure the health and safety of the people who live there, as well as the people who live in that general area as well as the town. So we can keep going if you want me to.
No, we're satisfied with
Yeah.
the condition that this
Okay.
letter must be met and addressed.
Okay.
You know,
Before we open up to members of the public, is there anything else, any other questions for members of the commission to the applicant here? Chaz, you want to say anything before I open the show up here? or-
No, again, thank you for your time, and again, thank you for the town staff with working with us, as this development's progressed.
Okay, you know how this works. You're going to sit down, we're going to open it up. If there's anything that needs to be addressed, you come back up afterwards and we'll talk about it, okay? So with that, we'll open it up to members of the public. If there is anyone here who has or would like to provide us with any comment on this application, please step forward to the podium. Again, start with your name and address, just so we have that on the record. You look like you want to get up, so go for it, man.
How's everybody doing?
Good. Just make sure you're talking to the microphone, please.
My name is Kevin Core. Our family owned Evergreen Nursery. We started out on Frost Street, 71 Frost Street, selling evergreens. I wasn't around then. But, and then in the early 70s, we moved into the establishment that we're talking about tonight. And I think maybe some of you may have worked there over the years, I don't know. I don't recognize a lot of people in here. I recognize one or two people, but that's about it. I don't know if you guys have ever worked for Evergreen? Anybody else? All right. So, a lot of people in the town have worked for Evergreen. It's one of their first jobs or second jobs, whatever. But I'm a little sad to see that it still does not exist. But I am in favor of what's being presented tonight. I think that, over the years, Evergreen has always had a tough time in front of getting approvals for things. And, but I think Sammy here has done a good job and has laid it out nicely. It's kind of sad to see that, things go, but I think it's a good layout, and I think it'll be good for the town. There's not much farmland left in town, so all has to go sometime, so
Okay.
that's it.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for coming out and sharing your thoughts with us. Anyone else like to speak on this application?
Hello, my name is Sharon Kilcullen, 577 Woodruff. We bought your family home there, Kevin. I had a few questions based on the paperwork that I was looking at as an abutting property. In one of the line of scope or scope of work, I saw some of the dotted lines extending over our driveway, and that is our only access to the house, so I wanted to know what that entailed. And then two, in terms of the drainage, those properties that are gonna be abutting ours, we're definitely downhill. So what protection do I have if their drainage is going to the back of their lots would be into our lot. So how does that work? I thought there was one more. I think that's what I got for now.
Hey, Sharon, can you do me a favor?
Yes.
You see that map up there? I don't see it up on front, but there's a map right to your right there. Could you sort of give us an idea of where your property is there relative to the proposal?
On this map here, we are this home right here,
Okay,
kind of behind the stop. So our driveway comes down this road. This is, I believe we have an easement with the power company because the power poles are along our driveway. And then we own this home and then this piece of property down here.
I saw that driveway when I was driving by there recently. I was wondering if there was something back there.
Yeah.
Is that a shared driveway, or is that just
Private.
yours?
Yep.
It's long, though.
It is long. Yeah. Good for working out. Take the
Okay.
trash can down and back.
Okay, well, we'll have the applicant answer your question in a minute. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this application at this time? Chaz, come back up for me, please. Did you hear Sharon's question?
I did, and now you will, let me pull up the rendering here. See if I can pull grading maybe a little bit.
So she's just to the east of this property.
Right, the
She's
house.
just wondering what
house
those
abut
dotted
In the
lines.
back, down the long driveway. Yeah. So this piece that goes over here from our limit of work is actually, there's currently an electrical line that runs from
Okay.
that pole to the existing building. So on our plans, just from a demo contractor to coordinate with the electrical company, we have that as the limit of work to, hey, remove the electric line that's there. We're not looking to propose any houses connect back up there. We're looking to hopefully, hey, let's clean it up so you guys don't have wires hanging over your driveway. And then from a drainage standpoint, we actually have, and again, coordination with town engineering staff, on the subdivision plan, there's going to be rights to drain to all of these lots interconnected here because of the stormwater system. But there's actually a drainage swale that takes some drainage from your driveway in here, and then all of these properties here would drain through the back, down through here, down to the stream. So as it is now, I think there's some areas that actually drain over and kind of spill over in this corner onto your property. Our goal was to obviously capture anything that happens back there. Again, this being the overall subdivision, the residential plan, every homeowner is subject to a plot plan may tweak a little bit, but they still need to keep with the overall drainage intent that it swales behind and comes down this way. So, and overall, from a development, from the impervious coverage, all the drainage volumes and peak rates are being reduced from what exists today. So we had on those two.
Okay, thanks, Chaz.
Thank you.
Hey, Chaz, while you're up there, one other thing. I'm just looking at a comment here about your subdivision plan needing to be signed by a licensed surveyor. Is that not signed by a surveyor right now?
The subdivision plan is not.
It is not, okay. You understand that it
It
needs.
it will be signed by a
It needs to be
licensed
though,
surveyor.
okay,
Yep.
all right. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else from the commission have any questions? Does anyone have a reason why we should keep this public hearing open? Chaz, you have anything else?
No?
You want to, okay.
Thank you for your time.
Without objection, we'll close the public hearing on this application. Going once, twice, close. Item 9B, Skytop Towing and Recovery LLC, special permit application for proposed automobile towing and recovering service to occupy a portion of an existing industrial site, property located at 102 West Center Street, zoned in an I-1 SPU 694. Mr. Judas, the floor is yours, sir. Just make sure you speak into the mic for us, Steve, please.
Forgive me. Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commission members. For the record, Stephen Judas with the Office of Cole Civil, located 876 South Main Street in Plantsville, tonight here on behalf of Skytop Towing and Recovery. We're here regarding a property located at 102 West Center Street. Before I get into my presentation, Mr. Chairman, I was made aware today that there is an open violation on this property that we were not aware of. So I'm going to respectfully request at the beginning of the hearing that we can continue this maybe to 2 weeks, so I can try to address that issue with the property owner and the staff. I just haven't had time. I talked to the property owner, but he's in Florida, and he wasn't aware that that was still an outstanding issue. So if you could grant me that consideration, I would appreciate
So
it.
if you present, Steve, then we'll just keep the public hearing open so you can have that conversation and come back to us.
That'd be great.
Okay.
So tonight we're here to talk about a 3.46 acre parcel located in I-1 zone. It's on West Center Street. I'm sure Seb was kind enough to lend me his laser pointer today. I'll return the favor someday, I'm sure. West Center Street and the Rails to Trails. A lot of you are familiar with this site. You'll know it as historically as the Pearl Oil site. It's been an industrial zone property for as long as I think anyone can remember. We have existing buildings on site. There's one up against the road here. It's kind of T-shaped. We have the existing building here, some old oil storage tanks, another building. There's some equipment from Brunelli located on the property, and then there's a kind of a gravel and paved parking area that runs through the site. This area here is all undeveloped floodplain area and floodway area along the Quinnipiac River that runs along this property line. Currently, there are a few other businesses on site. There's a landscaper on a site, and an oil company. I'm not sure who's in the front building, but there's another business in the front building as well. This site was previously approved for a mixed-use development. We had come before you with a pretty exciting plan that is still in the works, but just hasn't quite been funded yet. But the owner hopes to be able to implement that plan at a future date. So our proposal for you tonight is really rather small. We're proposing a towing and recovery business. And this is something that generally would have been probably before the Zoning Board of Appeals in the past. Originally, this would be considered a location of use that was granted through the ZBA. But a few years back, I think the Planning and Zoning Commission changed that and brought that type of use under your purview under a special permit site plan. Our application is a little unique because we're not really proposing a lot of improvements to the site. We have an existing building located at this location. We're proposing to use about 1,000 to 1,200 square feet. There's an overhead door, bay, and an office. And then we're proposing to use some of the existing parking for fenced temporary storage of towed vehicles on site. Our proposal is to have one truck on site and one employee, and as I said, a temporary storage area for 1 to 3 vehicles for just short-term use in between their final destination. We'd be utilizing the existing parking, listed paving, existing curb cuts. The only addition that we're proposing is a fenced area around the car storage area. We're not proposing any new signage. We're not proposing any new lighting. The applicant has a facility, is headquartered in Bristol, and then he has another facility in New Britain, and he operates in the Bristol, New Britain, Plainville areas, and would like to expand his operation into the Sullyton area as well. And I think that this is something that's relatively common in this business. They're not proposing to do any repair work, nothing, no nut and bolts, anything on the car. Any questionable vehicles is from a leaking fluid, would be hazmat protected and stored inside the garage bay, and that would be taken off site as quickly as possible. And we were proposing one employee on the site. The improvements really are just paint to the office. I just want to make sure I'm covering my bases here. And even though towing is typically a 24-hour business, the office would not be manned 24 hours. The drivers would be on call from home after hours if need be. We did receive comments from staff, and we did try our best to address as many of those comments as possible. At the time, there was a question about the site and some of the existing things on site. We were not aware that this violation, I think it was from 2012. And when I spoke to the applicant, he thought it was addressed already, but apparently it hasn't. So I think we'd like the opportunity to try to resolve that issue before we go too far forward. From that perspective, it's a small, minor use on an existing parcel. We don't think that we're going to have any negative impacts to the surrounding properties, and we think really this operation will be almost unseen for most people around the area. The applicant is with me tonight, Jeremy Bruby. If you have any questions for him, I'd be happy to answer them for you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions for you as well. But other than that, I'd like to just do that if possible and then continue this if we can.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Steve. Any questions from members of the commission to the applicant? Steve Wolowski.
I mean, my concern would be towing, a vehicle comes off 84, it's totaled. What is the plan for a torn-off oil pan or something leaking slow, transmission? You can't always see on a vehicle fluids that are leaking at the moment. What is, you're talking about not ultimately changing the property. What's the plan for that?
Yeah, I will have Jeremy talk about his.
How you doing? My name is Jeremy from 338 Town Line Road in Sellington. There's many options for that, as they have hood bras, they're called. They have EPA containment kits, EPA regulated kits, and anything from that point. If you blow an oil pan on 84, chances are it's 99% going to stay on 84. Fire department's going to pick it up. If for some reason it does come back to us, we have the ability to contain all that in the three things I just mentioned.
So with the three things that you're mentioning, are those temporary solutions or permanent solutions?
They're permanent till the car leaves. If there's any car that has extensive acceptance damage, we have a holding lot in New Britain, that's about an acre, that has what it needs to do to store the cars there without any EPA regulations or DEP concerns.
I understand what you're saying, but so on this particular site, it would be kind of a temporary.
So this
It wouldn't be
yes.
anything that was
No, it would,
concrete.
if
Would
we,
be-
if
what
we had
would it-
got
What would it be made of? Plastic?
the
What-
EPA stuff,
Please, yeah, just
they
please
have
elaborate
plastic
on that for me.
bags, plastic totes, metal pans, containment that made out of a special styrofoam. There's a lot of options for that. And any option that does, like I said, it'll go inside and stored and picked up and disposed as proper needed.
How far is the river from where the cars will be? Steve?
About 500 feet.
So if we get an inch of rain and the car's there and it's leaking?
Well, I think the thing that, we're not proposing to leave cars here for days. Our goal is to have them here for about 24 hours, if that. The idea would be to not unload it from the truck unless we had to, unless there was a second call. Then they would take it off the truck, they'd leave it until the morning, and then they would locate it off-site.
So would it be your opinion that a car that was hit would probably leak the most in the first 24 or the second?
I think, in my opinion, probably, I think if a car is hit and it's going to leak, it's going to be leaking when it hits. So you're going to see the leaking happening at that time. And if there's a question about containment, then these things are placed under the vehicle while it's being transported and while it's being stored temporarily. So it's not something that, that Jeremy wants to have a responsibility of spills, and that's not, in his best interest. It's not in the property owner's best interest. It's not in anyone's best interest. And I think these guys have to be certified and licensed by the state, and they have to follow those protocols that are dictated by the DEP for that type of spill. But generally, if a car is leaking, we're proposing to not store it outside. It would go inside the garage, and it would be used. We would use containment under the vehicle while it's there, but it would be, again, only be there for at most a 24-hour period, and then it would be moved off-site.
I understand that the
Yeah.
applicant will do his due diligence.
Yep.
I'm just not sure that this site is appropriate for that. And
There's
that's
This-
my line of questioning.
This
to
is
try
a-
to get to the, whether or not this site is appropriate for the use that you guys are proposing.
There's another site on the other side on Center Street. that
Can you
is
just
within-
make sure you're talking to the mic, please?
There's another site on Center Street that is within 5 feet of the river. That's never been a concern, never been a DEP issue. You know, same operation I would run, 20 times cleaner, a lot more knowledge than, that previous person, but that's within 5 feet of the river. This is within 500 feet, and, we've grown the company to realize the steps to make sure that there's no DEP issues. Last thing I want to do is deal with OSHA. So, I've invested probably millions of dollars into the knowledge, the testing, the equipment to be able to do what we have to do to maintain a safe environment. So,
Understood. I appreciate what you're saying, and, but I would say that the company who's 5 feet from, no one sitting here was involved in that approval, to the best of my knowledge. So I'm just asking all the questions.
Yeah, I just want to, there is an oil company that operates on this site currently. There are oil tanks parked on this site now that I think, I think it's a suitable site. I think that we have an applicant who's responsible and would operate it in a responsible manner.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Anyone else?
I just have a quick question regarding the
Go ahead,
location to the linear trail there. I have, parent of 2 young children, and I'm just looking at the layout here. It looks like it's set pretty far back, but just an idea of the amount of, kind of, I don't want to say disturbance to folks that are walking on the trail, but just, if there's noise complaints or anything like that, or just anything that might potentially disrupt that type of atmosphere on the trail when it regards to families walking and stuff like that, or, if there's any type of, it's just hard for me to understand, like, how far set back it is from the actual trail. Like, I can see it, but,
The buildings are right on the trail, but the back of these buildings are all solid. You can't see into the site from the trail.
okay.
So the buildings actually wall
It's
off
kind of
the site.
insulated against that
Right.
then? Okay.
Yeah, and the door for this is on the opposite side of the trail, so this is how we would access our office.
And there's only that one entrance from West Center Street?
Yes.
Got it. Thanks.
You all set, Don?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Hey, Caleb?
The pendant area where the vehicle storage is going to be is, 2 questions. One, how many vehicles is it going to store? Did you say 1 to 3?
I think, I proposed 1 to 3 vehicles at a time, yeah.
How many? Okay. What is the length? What is the length of that pen?
Well, it's going to have 1 gate, so I made it, the truck to be able to back into either side and park the car to the left or to the right of it.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, is that soil, gravel, concrete,
It's
asphalt?
It's process and asphalt.
Okay. Any, I don't know if we had any conversation about any kind of, I know that a lot of the concern here was stuff leaking or contaminants. Any concern about maybe a berm along the side there? Something?
So we're in a flood zone area, so we don't want to fill anything. We don't want to change the grade of things. So that's something that we don't really want to do.
Not a good thing.
It's minor, but I think our flood zone is around 147, or 147.8, and some of our site is like 146.5. It's within a foot, but of that 100-year elevation. But generally, we don't do any filling in that area.
Okay. I'm good.
You all set?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the commission to the applicant? All right. Seeing now, we're going to open it up to the public.
Okay, thank you.
Just like the last one.
Yep.
If there's anyone here who'd like to speak on this application, please step forward to the podium. Again, start with your name and address. Make sure you're talking into the microphone, please.
Sure. Hi, my name is Mark Mongillo. My wife and I,
Mark, could I get an address, please?
yes, I live at 152 Alder Lane in Southington,
All right. Thank you.
and my wife and I own the property directly across from the entrance to that piece of property. It's been in our family for over 100 years. We know the area very well. I mean, my wife and I, obviously, born and raised in Southington, we're probably the only ones in this room who could say we were born at Bradley Memorial Hospital. Our concern, our concern is perhaps pretty extensive, but it's in the early stages right now. But having lived across from that property for many, many years, and we know the flooding that does occur, even though the situation looks like it's going to be a small operation, my mind is probably getting ahead of myself, but I'm starting to envision a Chuck and Eddie's starting to happen on that piece of property. May not be the case, but when I hear auto recovery, I then start to think of salvage. I then start to think of maybe selling used parts out of that place. I know that's maybe a stretch of the imagination, but I also have concern because we are very familiar with that property. We're very familiar with the owners of that property going way back to the Perillo family. And we know the amount of oil and other kinds of contaminants that are in that soil from way back to that point. I think it behooves the Planning and Zoning Commission to take a look at that entire piece of property before any decisions are made, to see how it can all be cleaned up in some fashion, because anyone walking that linear trail and seeing what exists there today, it is pretty much an eyesore. There are containers beside the oil tanks and beside some trucks. There is, John Bernoulli's equipment is there, is being stored there, but I think it behooves this commission to take a look at that whole piece of property to see what a proper plan for it might be because of the flooding concerns, because of the contamination concerns on that property. And also, the linear trail being that close to that piece of property makes it very susceptible for intruders coming off of that linear trail onto that property to doing whatever. It's not unheard of. We all know things like that can happen. I'm not going to say it will happen, but anytime you put something in place that is going to have any kind of auto recovery or salvage is going to introduce another factor into the plan, sometimes an undesirable factor into the plan. The other thing is the fact that it's going to be 24 hours. I'm concerned about anybody on the north side of West Street, across from that entrance, are going to have the lights from trucks coming in and going, shining in people's windows constantly. And then if they're backing up, I don't know about you, but do you want to hear beep, 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 beep at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning? It may sound like it's a far distance, but it's not. You can hear a lot of activity. Even today, with trucks going in and out of there, you can see and hear the noise constantly. 24-hour service in the middle of the night, I think, is very disruptive. And again, I don't know what all the plans are, but I hope that the commission takes a look at the entire piece of property and see what the best use of that property would be, and start to take a look at how it can best be serviced by businesses that want to establish something there, and what is the right business to be put on that property, knowing that it's in a flood zone. Thank you very much.
Mark, I'm just going to say that virtually, and I won't go into detail about it, you can certainly, it's a matter of public record, but virtually everything you brought up, a notice of violation was sent out in 2012 to the property owner, requesting that they rectify the situation. That was 12 years ago. It's not been addressed.
Right.
But the town is on it. So I hear what you're saying, and it is a concern, and that's why I think the applicant indicated that they wanted to take some time to talk to the landowner and come back in 2 weeks. At the start of his presentation, you may recall he asked for his ability to come back in 2 weeks and speak to us about what that violation, what the status on that violation, and addressing those violations is. So I assure you, we are on top of it as a town, and hopefully it will be rectified sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
All right?
Appreciate it.
But thanks for coming out tonight, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other member of the public would like to come up and address or speak on this application? Steve?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to, violation was from 2012. The businesses
Could you
that-
just get a little closer?
The violation was from 2012. The businesses that were on site at that time were not there. The businesses that are there now are new. I think that we will get into the violation. We'll do our best to address it. The violation itself is kind of vague, and it doesn't, sections it refers to, it doesn't really give us as much direction as I think we need. So I think that's why we need to meet with staff and have that conversation. So, but this is an I-2 zone. It's an existing site. It's been an oil company. It's currently an oil business there. And there's a lot of industrial uses that can be used on this site as of right, that probably would be much more intrusive than what we're proposing here tonight. This is not going to be a salvage operation where they're going to be dismantling vehicles. There's going to be no work done on any vehicles on this site. That is not what we're proposing. This is an opportunity for him to have a license in Southington. That's what it is, and that's what we're trying to do.
Understood, Steve, and
Okay.
I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks and
All right.
hearing what the result of the
Thank you for giving us the
conversation
time
was.
to try and resolve these
Absolutely.
issues.
Anything we can do, so.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Caleb?
Mr. Mangel did ask the question about the trucks backing in, the lights, any screening or something like that, that could possibly be used?
Yes, the trucks, again, I don't think they would pull into the site directly, and then they would back into that area, but that's something that Jerry and I are going to try to look into and see if there's a better way to handle that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank
I
you.
could answer your question if you want.
Perfect.
So we have 12 trucks. Every single one of them has the backup beaver gun. We don't want to disturb any people. If this procedure does move forward and it go as planned, then I would be willing to, even though it's a when we say 24 hours, it's not, we're there hanging out with my drivers at 10:30 at night. It's if we get a police call from the Southington Police Department, you know, if it pushed forward, I would be okay with saying, hey, past 9 p.m., you won't see us. We'll take the truck home. I live in Southington. I have 3 drivers that live in Southington. I have multiple locations that we can dump the vehicle at that is not in a residential area. So if it meant that we can push forward this, I'm sure that we as a group, and me as a person, can work with the concerns that the neighbors do have. So if you guys have any more questions.
No, thank you, that's fair.
You all set?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the commission have any questions?
Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll leave this
See you
one
in a-
open, Steve, and see you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item 9C, 1403 Group LLC, special permit modification application for an expansion of Superior Products use at 1403 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike into 180 Norton Street. The parcels will be combined and the area will be fenced in and screened with arborvitae's. Property located at 1403 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike Zone in a business zone, SPU 695. Seth, the floor is yours, sir. You take this, sir. Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. My name is Seb Bovino, planner with Kratzer Jones and Associates, represents the applicant, 1403 Group. For orientation purpose, on the map here, this is Norton Street, and to the south here is Meriden-Woodbury Turnpike, known as Route 66. To the north, we have business zone to the west, and to the south is business zone. To the east, we have residential properties fronting on Norton Street. The property in question is in this corner right here that we will be discussing tonight. And the expansion of the business use will be basically half of this property, which is less than a half an acre, because we are installing a fence, continuance of the existing fence, and installing screening similar to what's there now, the same giant arborvitae to have a screen created here, and we're planning to have the existing vegetation here retained. The property is located at 1403 Meriden-Woodbury Road and 180 Norton Street. So this is the entire property is known as 1403 Meriden-Woodbury Road. This property is served by public water and sewer. It is its own business, as I said. The applicant purchased this property, 180 Norton Street, in 2023, November 20, recorded in volume 1596, page 1041. The property is 12,632 square feet, so it's a quarter of an acre. The existing house was in poor shape and it was demolished. The parcels will be combined with the rest of the property, which the property right now it's 9 acres plus or minus. This will be added to that. The existing curb cut at this location where the garage was and the house was located will be closed as requested by the town engineer, and the area will be restored. The existing walk will remain. It is in good shape in this area. The proposal is to extend the existing fence, as I discussed, and it will be installed 40-foot back from Norton Street, and the 40-foot area will be remaining as a green space. Nothing will be done in that area other than that grass area. This fencing and screen essentially will enclose the small area and allow some use of that space. So from the existing operation that's here now, we'll be able to use this back area of this lot here in this area, which is the westerly side of the existing lot. We intend to keep planting, as I said. With the application, we provide a site plan of that area, an area map showing the properties within 500 feet, property owners within 500 feet. Notifications were sent, registered letter. Proof of mailing was provided. I have a copy here for the record if it's necessary. This proposal requires an SPU because it is considered an expansion of the existing use of about 3,272 square feet. The state is planning a major road reconstruction of Norton and Route 322 at this area here. There's going to be a major reconstruction. So we want to be proactive and be prepared for that. So last year, I believe we received approval for the curb cut here. Right now, they purchased this house, so they want to close the loop and create an overall enclosed area for this operation. It is, in our opinion, that this request is reasonable, does not impact the health and safety and welfare of the neighbors. We hope that you consider approving this application. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer.
Okay, thanks, Sev. Any questions of the applicant from members of the commission? Rob?
Could you just address the drainage on the north side of the property?
The property slopes from the north to the southwest area. I am aware of a letter that's in the record indicating concern from the drainage in this area. And the property, actually, the entire property slopes towards the southwest. We have a wetland area here, and we have created a detention area here over the years. And so that's where the flow goes. I have copies from the GIS map that shows that that's the flow. So we're not changing the grading of that area in terms of drainage pattern. And I'll put this in the record. One is of the small site, shows in drainage pattern, and this one is the overall site. Shows where Mr. Jones' property is, where the wetlands are, and how our property drains. Those dashed lines are 2-foot contour lines. So the drainage, the flow of the water, it goes 90 degrees to the drainage, to the contour lines.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the map here, and the way it lines up, it's just not the same, so.
One is an overall,
Yep.
and it should be north is up. So the small parcel is to your right, up on the page. And the blow up of the actual parcel shows the parcel and shows Norton Street and shows how the water flows, south, southwest. Those green arrows, that's the water flow.
So you would say that it doesn't flow to that property?
It doesn't flow towards the north, northeast, northwest. It flows, this property here flows this direction.
You'll start, Rob? Yeah? Any other questions for members of the commission and the applicant? Sidewalks. Are you asking for a sidewalk waiver here? I don't see.
No,
it.
there's an existing sidewalk.
There's part of an existing sidewalk that comes down on the right-hand side there, and then it stops. And there's nothing on Meriden Waterbury, and there's no extension beyond where you see that crosswalk up there on Norton Street. So are you asking for a sidewalk waiver?
No. First of all, the state is going to reconstruct this area here, so they're going to address the needs of this area. And secondly, before you, there's a special permit use for the use, expansion of the use. It's not a site plan. We're before you with the site plan, and that's when the sidewalk issue is addressed.
Could you say that again, sir, please?
We're in front of you tonight for a special permit use expansion of the existing use. We're not in front of you for a site plan per se. The site plan, we were in front of you when we did the curb cut probably a year ago.
Staff? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, unless Google Earth is incorrect, I thought the sidewalk from the entrance northerly across the subject parcel is in. It goes through the existing driveway presently.
Correct,
I don't know if
yes.
the applicant can confirm that, but.
Yeah.
The,
So-
the sidewalk is right here, like starts right here,
Yep.
ends right there.
Yes.
All this area, all the way down, you can't see it on the bottom here, on Meriden Waterbury, there's no sidewalk.
Okay.
Yeah, we know that, yes. So we are in front of you to have this parcel be combined with this parcel here, and to allow the expansion of this use in this area here being part of this parcel. This overall area has been allowed to be the business that's in storage of construction material since the 70s. The sidewalk issue has never come up. And again, the state will take care of Norton Street and the southerly side, but we're not addressing the sidewalk question at this point.
Which is why I'm asking if you're looking for a waiver on the sidewalk requirement, because it's my understanding, and staff, please correct me if I'm incorrect here, that any application that comes before us is required to include a sidewalk, regardless of whether it's a site plan or just a special permit application, which is what this is. Is that a correct understanding of the regulation?
I will need to confer with the regulations before I speak to the special permit versus site plan piece of that question.
Okay. All right. So we'll wait to hear back from staff on that, but, all right. We'll leave that open, Seb, then. Any other questions for members of the commission, of the applicant? Seeing none, Seb, we'll open it up to members of the public and bring you up afterwards, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks. Any member of the public who'd like to speak on this application, please come up to the podium now, give us your name and address, and let us know what you think, please. Anything? No? All right.
He answered my question already.
Okay, all right. Okay. Sev, anything else to add? I'm going to keep the public hearing open on this one until we get the sidewalk issue addressed from staff, so.
No problem.
But other than that, do you have anything else between now and?
No, sir.
2 weeks from now?
No, I would like to know about the opinion before the next meeting, so if there's an opinion that deals with the sidewalk, we want to be prepared.
Okay, so I'll just ask Jeremy as a courtesy, if you could just,
I've got it in front of
Oh,
me.
here you go.
It-
All
it-
right.
the
You're
language,
quick.
the language reads, "This section applies to," this is section 6H of the zoning regulations, which deals with pedestrian and bicycle accessibility. Applicability section applies to applications for approval of a site plan, approval of a special permit, or similar applications. So it covers both.
so it does apply here, so, correct?
Correct.
Alex, am I, you're the lawyer in the room, so,
Without going into deeper diving, what Jeremy read I would agree that it would apply.
that would appear to apply. So Sev, are you requesting a sidewalk waiver on this?
I'm not prepared for that, so I would
Okay.
ask that you table the application until the next meeting, so we'll be prepared for that.
Okay,
And the way I would be looking at it, just in general, just so you know, be looking at it, this small parcel being the issue tonight, to be added to the current parcel, and that's the area that we focus in on, but we'll look into it. Thank you.
you know how I feel about sidewalks, so
No, we know, and we do what we have to do every time.
I just want to make sure we adhere to our regulations. They're there for a reason. So we'll keep this open, this public hearing open, so you can speak to the owner and come back in 2 weeks and let us know what the thought is on that, okay?
Thank you.
As you probably know, we did have a sidewalk, or payment in lieu of sidewalk modification to the regulation that passed earlier this year. So that's an option as well, so I encourage you to look at that. This is an opportunity right here, I think, that it was designed for, so, but look forward to hearing from you in 2 weeks. Any other questions from members of the commission before we move on to our business meeting here? Okay, seeing none, thanks, Ev.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, on to our business meeting, item number 10A, Evergreen of Southington LLC, re-subdivision application for a proposed 12-lot subdivision, property located at 567 Woodruff Street, zone in R 2025 S 1340.1. Members of the commission, thoughts? Motion,
I'll make a motion that we approve. Sorry, let me get my, number S number 1340.1, with the stipulation that all noted in the LEP report must be addressed to the satisfaction of engineering and the town staff accepting the road or associated easements, and that the plan must be signed by a licensed land surveyor and submitted to the satisfaction of staff.
okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Burton with a second. Any discussion?
I
Okay.
just want to recognize that there was
Could you
work-
just get closer, please? Thank you.
Yes, sorry. I just want to recognize the work done with this particular application to take public input into mind and come back with something that fits the area in a way that is a little more friendly to the neighborhood. I appreciate that. I appreciate that the applicant took that into consideration.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. Any other member of the commission have, oh, Alex?
I hate to interject. I just asked that the motion be amended to include stipulation, the LELP includes no certificate of occupancies be issued until it's fully addressed as well, because there could be certificate of occupancies issued, people moving in, and the LELP not being addressed because road acceptance has not been completed.
Steve, you okay with that amendment to your original motion? Yeah? Rob, you okay with
Good too.
that as well? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Any other member of the commission have any comment before we call roll on this? No one? I agree with what Kat said. I think it's important to get something done out there. It really is in a state of what I would call blight, and I look forward to the land being developed and cleaned up. I think it's a positive move for everybody in a neighborhood and in the town. So I think that ultimately this will be a good development. I want to recognize staff's time in working with the applicant here as well. I know that these meetings, sometimes you don't see them, but they go on behind closed doors, and I think staff gave the applicant a lot of time and worked through a lot of different issues. So thank you to staff, all of you, for everything that you guys do every day, and on this application in particular. And with that, Jeremy, can you please call the roll, please?
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Caird?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Walowski?
Yes.
Chair Hammersley?
Chair Hammersley is a yes, 7-0, motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you. Item 10B and C are Skytop Towing. We still have an open public hearing on this one, so we'll look for a table on those. Can we get a motion to table?
I'll make a motion that we table SPU number 694 as well as SPR number 1876.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Sewell with a second. Any discussion? Not that it's open to discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10D, again, we have public hearing remains open, so we'll look for a table on that.
I'll make a motion to table SPU 695.
I will second that.
We have a motion from Commissioner Keard and a second from Commissioner Coles. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10E and 10F, same applicant. I think there was a request from the applicant to table these two items, so we'll look for a motion to table those two items.
Make a motion to table item FF 277 and SPR 1877.
Okay, we have a motion do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Chaplinsky with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10G, Town of Southington floodplain filling application to install two 14 by 16 cedar footbridges across Patton Brook. Property located at 1302 Flanders Road, zoned in an R80, FF 278. Mr. Grappone, are you going to speak to this one, or who do we have to talk about this? All right,
Thank you, Mr.
get
Chairman.
us started. Go.
The Open Space Committee submitted a recreational trails grant application to fund the construction of two footbridges at Novak's Orchard Open Space Parcel. It went before the Inland Wetlands Agency on the 7th, March 7th, which recommended a favorable application to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We are planning on working with the Planning Department concerning the project. Our only concern is the entrances and the structural components to the bridge, just to make sure, because it's in a floodplain, that it's structurally sound. So if the grant is received, if the grant's not received, obviously it won't move forward. But we plan on hopefully recommending final approval of the final design in accordance with the engineering department.
All right.
I don't know if you want to add anything, Jeremy?
No, I think you did a great job. Thank you.
Just a quick, so
Yep.
basically, in a nutshell, it's just a grade off on either end so that the bridge sits level.
Yeah, it's basically going to span,
Okay.
the
Makes sense.
major portion of the water course.
Okay, makes sense.
All right. Any other questions from members of the commission? Can we get a motion on this?
I'd like to make a motion to approve FF 278.
We have a motion from Commissioner Coles,
I second that.
Commissioner Sewell with a second. Any discussion?
I just want to add that property is a gem, and I absolutely love it. All right. A lot of cars parking up there for the views and the sun, but
Yes.
beautiful spot.
All right. Get the roll on this, please. Yeah.
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Caird?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Walowski?
Yes.
Chair Hammersley?
Hammers is a yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 10H, release of a erosion and sedimentation bond in the amount of $3,400. Mark and Gregory Alley, property located at 1460 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike, SPR 1453. Is this ready for action, Jim?
It's ready for action. The site plan has expired, so basically whoever decides to develop it in the future will have to put these bonds back up, but right now it's vacant and they have to come in for site plan approval.
Okay. Any questions from members of the commission? Can we get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve SPR 1453.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that one.
Commissioner Coles with a second? Can we do a voice vote on this, or? Yeah? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10I, release of a public improvement bond in the amount of $3,500. Mark and Gregory Alley, property located at 1460 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike, SPR 1453. Ready for action, Jim?
Ready for action, Mr. Chairman.
It's just, looks the same as the last one we just did.
It's the same number.
Any, yeah, it's a different amount.
This particular bond is for the sidewalk related to the site plan.
Yeah, it's a public improvement bond. Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve SPR number 1453.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Commissioner Keard who gave us a second down there? Yeah? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10J, release of a maintenance bond in the amount of $8,000. Mariani Construction LLC, West Mountain View Estates, property located at 1681 Mount Vernon Road, S1318. Is this ready for action, Jim?
Ready for action, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve S1318.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Britton with a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, administrative items. Do we have anything, Jeremy?
Nothing to report.
Okay, receipt of any new applications or items to schedule for a public hearing beyond the two that remain open?
Nothing at this time, Mr.
All right.
Chairman.
Okay. Anything else from anybody before we look for a motion to adjourn? We'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Curie, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Chaputsky with a second. All those